We know the owners are meeting today in Chicago. One of the things they're discussing is changing overtime from 15 minutes back to 10. What are you hearing about that?
It's now official. It's been approved. It is done. It is now a 10-minute overtime going forward. So this is not news that we didn't expect.
Right.
Last night, somebody said to me, this is happening. And in fact, it has now been passed officially. It is a 10-minute overtime. The owners have approved that. It is in the interest of player safety. They think that it'll be shorter overtime periods, fewer plays. Of course, the unintended consequence, or maybe the intended consequence, is ties will come out of this. There'll be more ties. But I think the league is not really worried about that right now. Also, they have eliminated the 75-man roster cutdown. So when they go from 90 to 75, gone, Lou. So the final cutdown day now will be from 90 to 53 players, which will be a big cut-down day on that last
let's
weekend.
go through this overtime.
Yeah.
What do you think they accomplished by shearing off 5 minutes of OT? Not a lot of games went into that 10 to 15 minute range of overtime. So what do you think?
No, you know what? I understand why. I understand the reason why they want to do it in the name of player safety, David. I think what will wind up happening, and I heard a couple coaches kind of refer to it this way, is that now, overtime is really just situational football anyway. Whether you want to look at it as 10-minute football now instead of 4-minute football that you hear about in the fourth quarter, I mean, that's really what it's going to be. The pace will quicken. Play calls will become even more critical. Third down stops will become more critical for a defense so you can get your offense on the field. So I think what's going to happen is you'll see it. It'll be a little bit more frenetic, I think, in overtime now because you know that you don't have very much time to mess around with and play with here. I think you may see even some teams go hurry up, maybe go in a 2-minute type of mode to try and make sure that they have as many chances at it as possible.
Yep.
So I think it could make it exciting, quite honestly. I think you could wind up seeing a much more fast-paced type of overtime period, and maybe that'll be a good thing. I understand the reasons why they do it, and I'm all for player safety, so I get it.
You will immediately be looking at the clock as overtime begins because it's going fast. Okay, The other part is the 90 to 53. They've eliminated that 75-man cut down. I know you're always plucking guys off of other teams and everything. How does that impact front offices?
Well, obviously now, a whole bunch of guys are going to hit the market all at the same time, so the waiver wire is going to be gigantic. So you're really going to have to be efficient as far as identifying the players that you want to focus on that could potentially be final roster cut down type of guys, and really make sure that as a personnel department you're very organized, so then you either are putting in waiver claims and or identifying guys who you then want to bring in and work out, provided they clear waivers or put on your practice squad. So really, it just makes like the number of players that come to market all at the same time a lot more. And you just have to be more organized, which I think personnel departments have become pretty proficient at making sure that they identify who they want now.
Okay, Roger Goodell expected to speak sometime today, correct, Adam? And one of the things, we didn't think he was going to have to talk about Tom Brady this offseason, but maybe he will after Gisele's comments about Tom Brady having a concussion. He's had several concussions, though he's never showed up on a concussion report. What do you know about what might go on there?
I'm sure he'll be asked about the question, and it is an issue that's not going away. Look, we live in a day and age, fortunately, where there is more scrutiny on this topic, as there should be, than ever before. And so when Gisele Bündchen comes out and says that her husband has suffered a concussion or multiple concussions or whatever her exact language was, I think everybody's antenna gets raised even more. The issue that you have, that has been an issue all along, has been players that don't report concussions. And that shows you whether or not he did or didn't have one, that this continues to be an issue because we've heard other players say something similar. We've heard Ben Roethlisberger pointing out, hey, I'm proud of the fact that I self-report my concussions. And again, we are in this time where the rules are being reestablished and defined on a weekly basis. And it's not going to happen, this cultural shift, entirely overnight. But we've begun to see it take place in incremental steps, and we've begun to see small signs of progress. But there are issues like this that linger out there that prevent it from going the entire way.
Is the league looking into what Giselle had to say?
There's nothing to look into. He has not on the injury report. The injury, the concussions were never documented. The league has spotters at the game. They never picked it up. What is there to look into? I mean, you cannot prove it. There's no documentation of the fact that he had a concussion. She's saying this. I think everybody's curious about it and will continue to be curious about it, but there's nothing for the league to look into. The league is at fault as much as Tom Brady is at fault for not reporting it if he indeed did have a concussion.
All right, one more. Former Bills GM Doug Whaley spoke yesterday for the first time since being fired by the team 3 weeks ago. He and the Bills had issues trying to find a franchise quarterback. Give us your feeling as far as how important that is to a franchise and what it means when you can't find one.
Well, I think what it means is obvious. I mean, Doug Whaley is a perfect example of what it means when you swing and when you miss. You don't have a whole lot of time anymore. You're not given a whole lot of time in order to rectify that position anymore. 3-year plans, five-year plans are out the window. It's like 3-year plans and less now. And I think what you'll see is what you saw this past draft, you're going to see a lot more of. You're going to see teams being very, very aggressive at taking chances on guys that they deem have some kind of skill set or some kind of, some characteristics that could lead to them maybe developing into franchise quarterbacks. Whether or not you believe they need to be valued there or they deserve to be valued where they were, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, or the guys this year, Mitch Trubisky as well, you're going to see that frenetic pace, that desire to try and rectify that position only increase because the pipeline is not full enough in order to fulfill all the demand that's out there for quarterbacks. It's just not. Because once guys like Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Aaron Rodgers, and those guys are gone, Phillip Rivers, those guys are gone, you tell me who the next great ones are. So there's going to be a race to anybody who has those traits that even closely resemble, that's what they're going to be doing.
Because he stepped up to get E.J. Manuel, isn't that one of the reasons why he's out?
Well, there's no question. Yeah, I mean, to answer that part.
He did take that leap
and
lost. So I guess my point is he tried it and it didn't work.
What he's saying is he's going to try and do what he tried to do in Buffalo. He's just hoping he's going to be more successful at it.
Okay.
I mean, he tried. He swung, he missed. It's just what happens. The other thing I will say, though, David, is this. This is a team builders league, not just a quarterback finders league. You can win without having Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. You can win Super Bowls without having the next greatest guy. It's not just on that position, although it's critical. You can't have that position lose games for you. At the very least, you can't have it lose games. If you can find a guy who can put a whole franchise on his back and win games for you, then great. You're probably going to go to the Hall of Fame as a GM. Okay, there's a lot of guys who have ridden that kind of quarterback to the Hall of Fame as a GM. But you cannot have guys that will lose games for you and or not even play in the case of E.J. Manuel. That's a surefire way to find yourself an unemployed.
Well, either you can play quarterback or you can't.
Yeah.
And if you can play, your team is going to be set. And if you can't, you're going to get fired.
Again, I'll change it like this. Either you can not lose games in the NFL, or you can help a team win games. If you lose games in the NFL as a quarterback and you are contributing to that, that's right.
And you can't
play for a little bit. He played a little bit.
And a lot of people will lose their jobs because
there you go. And that's the lesson.
There you go.
No question.